is, asking them the right questions, because just saying, well, what do you like? That can make them panic even more. It's like, well, what am I supposed to like? And, some of them don't even know that there's other options out there, like a practice ignition, whereas some already like, yep, I've got practice ignition, and the process is pretty smooth, but maybe they want to tweak something else. So having an understanding to guide your client through the journey to know where they're currently at in terms of where they can envision their self being, and understanding how that solution fits into their firm is always, there's a bunch of variables to take into account to determine the best applications for them.
We got Katie Thomas with us today of Katie Thomas CPA. For those of you that don't know, she is the automation queen. I don't know if I'm saying that right or not, but I know at least me and my friend Keith down in Florida have you as hashtag automation Katie. So I don't know if that's a thing yet, but we're trying to push it. So hi, Katie. Welcome today.
Hey, Jose. Thanks for having me on. I appreciate the introduction. And yeah, Keith and yourself, that's super sweet of you to support me. I work with a lot of accounting firms and help them embrace technology. So what that means is a lot of the accountants out there today are aware of this digital disruption, but it's very confusing because they know they need to make changes and they know that there's new technology out there, but there isn't a lot of guidance given to them on how to actually implement that technology. So that's what we help them do. We help them streamline all their processes, automate what they can, integrate existing technology, or implement new technology. So it's exciting.
No, that's awesome. Yeah, I love, that's kind of whole part of the new revolution that's out there. And one, the accounting industry, and two, just in business overall. I mean, why are you going to waste time doing menial tasks when an application can come in, or something can be put into there to kind of automate that, to give your people time to actually do things that take away from, I don't know if this is the right way, time sucking, to where they're more doing something that's a little bit more meaningful, that kind of makes them feel a little bit more like they're valued in the company. That's my personal opinion, at least with it.
Exactly. And, the way I kind of like to explain it is we all only have so much energy in a day. Of course, there's time, but it's energy. And a lot of times whenever we're not working on things that we're passionate about, such as like data entry or admin work, it can really drain us. So we need to be able to focus our time and energy on those value-added activities and serving our clients and serving our employees too, and not be spending it on, like the data entry. So, beyond just becoming more efficient, it's also allowing your people to be empowered to focus on what they love. And like you said, people want to, feel like they're making a difference, not like they're spending their time on timesheets and data entry.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, I see that a lot, and that's something I tell my clients is that, you can't buy, time is the one thing you can't buy. But but by implementing some of these technologies or some of these applications, you can actually steal some of it back. And who can't use an extra 5 hours a week to do, one, to go sell more, or two, to go actually be there for your family?
Exactly. Yeah. You can never get time back, and time's everything. You can't even put a price tag on it, I don't think.
Oh yeah, the most important thing, I guess, to me that I feel like as well is going to be client retention. Millennials, the Gen Z now, the younger crowd, they don't want to work with paper files. They don't want to go to let's say a tax practice that's still using outdated systems where they have to work in front of a computer there, and they're using Windows 98 or something like that. I mean, no one's going to want that. Well, you can get away with it, and yeah, you are profitable. I can guarantee you're probably working twice as much to make half the money you could. I mean, that's my personal opinion. What's your take on that?
Exactly. So I like to think about technology in different categories. So just becoming efficient as a firm, that's great, and like freeing up the firm owner's time. but also in terms of employee retention, like you said, because employees want that. Like it goes straight back to them wanting to feel like they're working on meaningful work and like they have a meaningful life. Like millennials and everyone coming up into the accounting industry, we are empowered to live like very passionate and fulfilling lives. And so, yeah, we don't want to work the whole time, but when we work, we're going to be efficient. And then another area is the client experience. So what can we do from an automation standpoint to make that process and our interaction with the clients as smooth as possible? I mean, onboarding is so important to client retention, and whether that's enabling them to have an engagement letter right when they need it, e-sign, when they sign it, they have an email sent with the next steps. They know exactly where to drop off their documents and what's expected of them. All of those little things matter. So yes, becoming more efficient as a firm is so important, but it really expands into so many different areas, whether that's the clients or the employees. It's just so important.
Yeah, no, I love it. I mean, I think that's perfect. I mean, I'll be honest with you. When I first started, I botched an onboarding with a client, and it just never went well. And we ended up parting ways because I just at the time was still trying to figure things out, and you try to bring them on, and it's like, man, you overpromise and stuff, and then it's all of a sudden it's like, well, nobody's on the same page, and then they expected one thing and another, and so something we started doing now is when we onboard a new client, we send them a video that I created of just kind of, okay, this is who we are, this is what we're about, this is my expectations from you, but these are your expectations you can expect from me. That way, there is a clear understanding of what it is I'm doing for you, what you're doing for me, on top of the engagement letter and everything else, the conversations and everything. There's that kind of third added piece of, okay, I've made it clear what to expect from each other. That way there is no misunderstandings in the future, or you expected this service, but it's actually out of scope, or we prepared it and then now we're billing you for it, but then you thought it was kind of included in that. And so then you get upset with that. Our clients get upset with that. So
Exactly. And I think anyone that's running a practice or is involved in client onboarding has had to go through those pains, because it's you don't know what you don't know. And I mean, that's been one of my biggest struggles, is scope creep, and at first not managing it at all and trying to backpedal. You can't. So I can relate totally.
Yeah. So, okay. I think we kind of went a little bit of a tangent here. Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself, your history, your background, kind of what made you get started to where you're at now?
So I grew up and was always super entrepreneurial, always had all these side hustles, paid myself through college. And then I went into accounting because I knew, I was like, oh, I want to start a company someday, but I have no idea what I want to do. I took accounting and people were like, that's a great degree. It's the language of business. So I was like, okay, I'll do that and I'll figure out what I want to do. And so I was getting my CPA and I started at Ernst & Young and worked there for a while. But I remember just being like, I don't know when I'm going to find out what I want to do, but I know that this lifestyle of working forever and trading all of your time to become a partner someday, it wasn't for me. I fully respect all the people that do it. Like, wow, that's amazing, but it wasn't for me. And so along with that, I had been dating my husband. I'd been with him for 6 years, and he's an automation engineer. And so we're huge nerds and geek out and talk about technology all the time. And so we would have these conversations like, this just doesn't make sense that myself all the way up to partners come home at night and just spend time on admin work. I see these articles released about, digital disruption and all the changes, but why at even, this big firm, why don't I see that? And so I literally walked inside. It was home. It was probably like 10:30 or 11 one night. I'd been working so much, and my husband was dinking around with this light motion detector. He was trying to program a light to turn on automatically. And I'm telling you, we're huge nerds. And so the light bulb popped on. I was like, oh my gosh. It literally was like, that happened in real life and it happened to me. I was like, I need to explore how to take all this information and put it into accounting practices so that it's not just talk, it's actually being implemented. And to me, it was like it's kind of like all these articles and people talking about technology is kind of like someone speaking and writing in a different language, because a lot of the firms can't utilize the information. Or maybe it's like you're kind of familiar with the language. Like I took French in high school, so if I got a French book, I could pick out a few words, but I couldn't comprehend it totally. So I was like, all right, I'm going to go for it, because I had been waiting to, figure out what I want to do. And I realized, you're never going to feel ready, and you have to take some risk in life and go for it, because what's the worst that can happen? And, it's entrepreneurship's journey, I'm sure and it's exciting, but that feeling of, I'm just going to be ready someday, I don't think it ever comes. And, you have to just take a leap of faith and go for it and put your soul into it. And you find your way. You make some wrong turns, but you find your way.
Yeah, no, I agree with you 100%. I mean, I never thought I was always taught the safe route. Go get a job and just work and get your pension, get your retirement, and then you live a comfortable life. And I went into accounting as well, kind of similar. I didn't know what I wanted to do. And so I figured, okay, what's the two things that are guaranteed in life? Death and taxes.
Mm-hmm.
I figured I'd always have a job, So I got into it, and kind of the same thing. I started to see little things here and there. I started to have ideas in my head. Okay, how can I do this? And my experience, actually, I went to because I worked at smaller firms.
Mm-hmm.
So I went to management, to the partners, because there was only there was me, then there was the manager, and then the partner. We were at small firms, and I'd go to them and just, hey, how about this? Let's try this. Let's try that. No. And it was just kind of their way and their way only. So I just said, you know what? I'm gonna take a shot at myself. Take a shot, and here we are, a year and a half later, and we're chugging along. Where we're getting there. It's been difficult. You definitely have taken a couple losses, but gotten a couple wins as well. And that's what it's about. It's all about the journey, I think.
Absolutely. And I like what you mentioned, like you would bring ideas to management. And I think that that's something that people that go out and start their own companies usually have a lot of ideas. And what I've recognized and, realized during part of this process is that everyone has great ideas. And it's like, how do you, just because maybe I'm older and have more experience in this area, someone else that's less experienced can have a great idea. And it's like, how do you, evaluate that and incorporate it? There's a quote by Aristotle that says something about like the sign of an educated mind is someone who can contemplate a thought without entertaining it. So it's like, to me, like what you're saying is you would take these ideas to a partner and he wouldn't even entertain them. Whether or not he agreed, he couldn't even think about them or fathom them occurring. So that's what I think is awesome about our industry and all these entrepreneurs coming out. It's like we all have awesome ideas, and the more we can put them out and test them and collaborate, it's like it's totally changing this industry and enabling people like ourselves to go out and change how things are being done, become more efficient and more empowered, and feel like we're having meaning in this profession.
Now, I think the key word that you said there is collaborate, because I feel like in this industry, it's a very cutthroat industry, and it used to be all about, I need to keep the proprietary information here. It's my proprietary information. It's only to my clients. I don't want it to get out. We're at the day and age now where if somebody wanted to Google, they can Google how to do all that and figure it out. Right. And, if they really wanted to invest the time and the trial and error and everything, they can figure it out. But that's where I think, like you said, collaboration is really key. And that's something so I'm kind of a little side note. I'm a big proponent of Xero. I love Xero for the accounting software. They build these communities around these cities. And within these communities, there's a lot of collaboration that goes around. We have conversations. There's a gentleman I talked to who started his firm who's testing, this app for this software while we use this one. And we have conversations about it, just openly just talk about, this isn't working and everything. And again, I love it. One, I can help him, but two, at the same time, he's helping me because it's like he's able to test. We were able to kind of attack it twofold. And again, it's a very collaborative effort. I know I can call him and be like, hey, man, what do you think about this? And I don't have to sit there, oh, it's going to be $250 an hour for my time. Like, okay, And that's what I love, kind of where the industry is going, is this collaborative effort of how we're all working together. I mean, we're openly, freely talking about, things right now. I know we talk about kind of some stuff as well, practice management softwares, which I want to get into. Keith, like I said, I got to mention him again. We reached out to me. We've talked a little bit about certain things as well. And, it's just kind of all about, for me, it's all about the way I do things is you help people. And then if you do first for people, then the money comes, I feel like. And so that's kind of where I'm at right now, is I want to help people. I want to, especially in this industry, I want to empower those that feel like they're not empowered, kind of what same thing you're doing, give them that, okay, I can do this. This is something I can do, and so that's just kind of a little bit about me, I guess, kind of went off a little bit of a tangent there. I apologize, but I do want to let's get back on track. I sidetracked. Practice management. Let's talk about it. I know this is one of the things that you are an expert at, so please. So I guess my question to you is there a software out there that is, in your mind, best for, let's say, a CPA firm, a tax firm, a bookkeeping firm to use?
So I don't think that there's a best piece of software. And I know that's probably not the answer that yourself or a lot of people listening want to hear. But the reason why I say that is the best piece of software for one firm is not going to be the best for another. For example, if they have 4 applications in place already that they really like, maybe they have subscriptions in place that they can't get out of for a while, so it's going to be very costly to change, and they just need one new addition, like they need a place to come and collaborate with their clients on, then a solution like a Carbon or Account that's an all-in-one, maybe that's not the most cost-effective or beneficial to do a big change. But that's kind of the main thing. It's like, what are you missing? What don't you like about your current process? And what's holding you back from changing? Because there might be real reasons why they don't want to change. And also, depending upon what services they're offering, it's also going to change what type of software they likely want to utilize. But as far as thinking about practice management as a whole, I think that it's important to consider things like onboarding. We spoke about that a little bit. How are we going to make this process easy? How are we going to make the billing and invoicing easy? Collaboration, both with internally and externally. Now, today's world, people are moving away from email. So whether you have just a Slack channel, or you have client hubs, or it's something where you can collaborate in your workflow, like a Carbon or Account. There's different options, but you also need your workflow and task management. So a lot of times people think about practice management a lot as that workflow and task management piece, which that's a piece of it, but you also need the other items we hit on, as well as document management, and then dashboard and analysis. I think those are huge. So how are we utilizing our practice management to actually give us reports to track some of those modern KPIs? Like, how are you actually doing on retaining clients? What's your churn rate like? What's your average recurring monthly revenue? Is that increasing? And like, what's the cost to obtain new clients? So, maybe some of the firms caught on that they should be doing more marketing, but what's that increase in marketing costs compared to what we're paying to acquire this client, to how much revenue they're bringing us? So all of these analytics need to be captured and analyzed so that we can use our practice management software to make our people more efficient, allow us to trust them, improve the client experience, and then ultimately have the data to evaluate our firm from a seat that's stepped back. Because if we're just in the firm, it can be hard to be objective, but data doesn't lie.
No, I love it. That I think that was the perfect answer. I think you hit it spot on. There is no one software. It's all about what works for you, and because I get asked that a lot as well. Is, well, what do I use? What should I use? It all depends on what your practice looks like and what you want to do, what you wanted to accomplish. Are you happy creating proposals in Microsoft Word? Sorry, I don't know why I just didn't.
It's Monday.
Yeah. So are you okay with creating the proposals in Word? Are you okay with the engagement letters, you going in and changing all that? If that's the case and you're happy with that and you're okay with paying your, let's say, an admin or something to do it, then maybe, something like Practice Ignition or Panadoc isn't going to work for you. If you really are truly happy. Now, again, you can save a lot of time. It will cut down. I know for me, it cut down a lot of times making the switch over to Practice Ignition instead of having to go in there, because I hated that. Every time I sent a new engagement letter or something, it was just like going in. I can't tell you how many times I still had the old client name in there, and I would miss something, or maybe I think that was a great, a really great answer with that, because there is no one-stop solution. It's all about what makes sense for you and what's your budget.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And
go
ahead.
No, please.
And that's something we try to help our clients with is, asking them the right questions, because just saying, well, what do you like? That can make them panic even more. It's like, well, what am I supposed to like? And, some of them don't even know that there's other options out there, like a Practice Ignition, whereas some already are like, yep, I've got Practice Ignition. And the process is pretty smooth, but maybe they want to tweak something else. So having an understanding to guide your client through the journey to know where they're currently at in terms of where they can envision their self being, and understanding how that solution fits into their firm is always, there's a bunch of variables to take into account to determine the best applications for them. Yeah,
no, definitely. I mean, and I know for me, at least if somebody asks me a recommendation, I'm not going to point them as the most expensive, because sometimes the most expensive isn't the best.
Exactly.
Sometimes, one of these smaller apps can do the same exact thing that you needed for what you need it for, and it's half the price or something like that. So again, it's all about just kind of, so I don't know how you guys do it, but I know me and Morgan, my team member, we spend about an hour a day. I'm sorry, not a day. Wow, that's a lot. An hour a week, where we literally just go out there and see what there is out there. And we kind of keep a running database of it. We have an Excel spreadsheet, kind of, what's the app, what does it do, and what does it promise? Because sometimes it can promise something, but not necessarily deliver it the way it's supposed to. And so if it's something that we feel like, okay, this is something revolutionary or something that I feel like is going to be amazing, then we may take the time to demo it. Mm-hmm. And actually, okay, this is something that I think we can bring some value to our clients, and let's take some time to demo it. Oh, I know there's something out there right now. I forget the name of it, but it's essentially a trial balance function. Kind of like, I don't know if you ever worked with CCH products or not.
Yep.
Okay, so engagement, you've dealt with engagement before?
Yep.
Okay, so it's essentially engagement on the cloud for tax preparation. And you drop in your trial balance, you make your adjusted journal entries, and it's supposed to send that over directly to certain tax programs, which I think CCH Access is one of them, if you use that. So it's kind of little things like that you can find that for us have been just kind of like, oh, okay, well, maybe right now it doesn't make sense because, we're not using that tax software. But once we get to that point, okay, that's something maybe we can kind of integrate into our workflow and talk and try to automate the tax preparation side of it a little bit more, because we all know that's the one that kind of gets a little bit finicky, especially with Schedule C clients with the big boxes and stuff. And the bank statements and the receipts, and they're just like, here, you take care of it, but I'm only going to pay you X amount of money.
Right.
So.
Yeah, that gets very challenging. And I mean, also how firms, handle those clients, because some firms don't accept, any paper receipts, whereas some are still all paper receipts. Clients drop them off every month. Their solution is likely quite a bit different than the firm that's operating in the cloud, is really comfortable utilizing technology. Technology is one of those things you can't overwhelm people, and the change management is so crucial into having a successful implementation, because it'd be great to just throw awesome technology into all these firms, but you have to understand the users of it, and their level of comfort is huge.
No, so exactly. And that's another thing I wanted to talk a little bit about too, is how do you get, let's say the partner's all in, how do you get the staff to buy in?
So it's funny that you say that. Typically it's the partner in some of these bigger firms, or it's like one partner is so in and they're like, let's get started. And then two of them are like, I don't know about this. And that's more challenging. Typically what we do is a slower implementation. So we always have an implementation that is rolled out. It's not just a one and done, here's everything, unless it's just adding a few integrations, having data flow between a few applications. That's not big. But anytime we're doing a big change, we like to roll it out slowly. And for those firms that have, the partners that are hesitant, assuming that we move forward, because there have been some where one's like yes and the other one says no, and then you don't. It's just always going slow and making sure they're comfortable each step of the way. And while we do that all the time, it's being more detailed, showing further examples where some people might be like, oh my gosh, of course this does that. Making sure that you bring it down to a level that is acting like it's a foreign language, and really going slow with them to help them feel comfortable. As well as, I feel like for them, keeping them always in the loop is so important. So like as you're making these changes, rather than saying like, all right, talk to you in 3 weeks when we have everything set up and we'll get you trained. It's like touching base with them and giving them touch points, so it's not as overwhelming.
Yeah, no, I think that's great. I mean, when we introduce a new app into some of our clients, it's kind of the same situation too. It's like, okay, I'm not going to say hand holding, because I feel like it has a very negative connotation to it, but you do take it slow and you make sure that they understand. And it's all about, at the end of the day, it's all about communicating with them. Are they comfortable where you're at, in the training process or in the implementation process? And if they're not, okay, then where are your hesitations? What is it that you don't quite get yet? And just making sure you address those then, before you get to the end. Like you said, after 3 weeks, everything's done, guys. All right, have fun. I'll see y'all later. And then,
right.
You know what I mean? And then nothing gets done, and they go back to the old way, and then it's just all of a sudden, and then you, at that point, they're just like, well, no, we're never switching. That was a
right.
bad experience. And then again, you're back to doing things the old way, and at that point, then maybe now they have a bad taste in their mouth when it comes to,
Yeah, exactly. And I think you brought up, a little bit of an interesting point, or something that sparked in my mind as, I've been going through this journey. And that's to really understand the prospect before you engage with them. Because I feel like when you start a business, you're so excited and you want to help everyone, and, you have a great solution. And like I said, you just want to help everyone, and realizing that, what, maybe not everyone is your ideal client, and to say, before you engage with them, to say like, maybe you're not a fit, and be honest up front. Because I know that we have worked with a couple of firms that aren't very, like up to date with technology, and it caused a ton of scope creep in time. And, I think that while the solution works great, they just they don't want to use it, kind of like what you were saying. And, you know, you definitely see where maybe it's not the best to even try to engage clients, put it out there, see the reaction, but know when to be like, hey, just because this is a great solution, it's maybe not a great solution for them. And, you know, you can refer them to someone else, or you just don't need to engage everybody.
Exactly. And this is something that I learned at one of my old firms. They told me, you take whatever work comes in the door. And in reality, I learned that real quick. No, you don't. You don't. Not everybody's a good fit for what you do, or I get maybe when you first start off, taking what you can because you need the money and you're trying to build up and everything. But once you get to a comfortable spot, you are allowed to choose your clients. You can say no, and it's okay to let them know, hey guys, this is not a good fit. You know, here's a number to somebody that I think would be a better fit for you over here. It's okay. You know, I just want to emphasize that a lot of people think, no, I can't get rid of the work. No, you can. And trust me, you will be so much happier and less stress for you by doing it.
Right. And that's something I struggled with. And I mean, I still struggle with saying no, because you just don't want to like let anyone down, and you feel like you want to help everyone, but you usually know, I feel like in your heart, if it's a good decision, and you got to listen to that.
Exactly. You know, and that kind of, and I think this is a perfect segue kind of into a little bit what I want to talk about too, is following your heart. And for kind of, I see you post these videos all the time about, you know, empowerment, and you want to, you know, better yourself, or just kind of, you know, believing in yourself and everything. And I love it. I mean, you know, you build people up. And that's something that I know there's somebody out there that's sitting on their desk right now, maybe, hopefully listen to this podcast, you know, and they're just sitting there and they're in a very toxic situation, and they're like, well, I want to, but, you know, I had the skill set, but maybe I don't believe in, you know, they maybe don't have the self-esteem or something like that. And that's just where I think people like you are great at this, is kind of building them up, you know, and letting them know, like, hey guys, you are good enough. You know, if you want to make the leap. It's okay. You know, and that's something that, like I said, you know, I think it's great. And I just wanted to see if you wanted to touch on that a little bit more, and kind of maybe talk to them and let them know a little bit, you know, because like I said, your messages, awesome. The videos I see on LinkedIn, for those, by the way, if you don't follow her on LinkedIn, you guys are missing out big time. So.
Oh, thank you, Jose. I'm super passionate about just letting people know that those thoughts and feelings of, you know, being scared, but also having that drive and curiosity to go do something, like, that is your sign. Like, you're not going to have, unfortunately, someone come knock on your door and be like, hey, today's the day you can leave your job and you're going to feel ready and perfect. But rather, the sign is that you have the thought and, like, just, you know, these feelings that you could go out and do more, but not being, like, ready. You never will. And it's just, time's going to keep ticking. So the sooner you just turn that fear and that view of, you know, I'm nervous and maybe I'm anxious, you have to rephrase that. You have to say, these are feelings of excitement. These are feelings of joy and happiness. And you can turn that into, like, motivation. And, you know, like Jose, we were talking, we've made mistakes. We're going to continue to make mistakes. We don't know everything. No one does. And so if I can do this, so can you. I mean, anyone could do this. It just takes commitment and knowing that failure is not anything but putting you in a new direction down the correct path. So you might keep failing 20 times, but really it's just a new direction, and you're getting closer and closer to your path. And no one even knows when they're on the right path. It's constantly changing. But the only thing you can do is start, and you should start today. There's no better time, and you're never going to feel ready. But once you start, you learn to understand that this feeling's normal. There's highs, there's lows, but it's awesome. So I encourage anyone that wants to start their own business, they should go for it. But there's also nothing wrong with not wanting to start your own business too. So that I never want to sound like everyone should have their own business, because it's not for everyone, and that's cool too. I'm glad that we're all different, and we need just as many business owners as we do. Well, we need more people to help support business owners. So everyone has a role, but your heart always knows what it wants.
No, I think that's great. I think that you perfectly put. I mean, not everybody, entrepreneurship is not for everybody, and if you don't have that calling, or if you don't have that, there's absolutely nothing wrong with that either. I mean, my wife works at one of the big oil companies, and she is happy, very, very, she works in IT, very, projects that really stimulate her mind and everything. And, she's 100% happy. I have a lot of friends that work. I have one that sells homes for one of the home builders. He doesn't want to be a real estate agent. He says he doesn't want to deal with that. He's happy where he's at, and that's that. And I think, that's great. But I will say, if you are thinking about it or do, I think it was Wade Gretzky that said it. You miss 100% of the shots you don't take.
Absolutely.
And there's nothing wrong with taking your shot. And if you take your shot and you miss and it doesn't work out, but hey, at least you took your shot and you gave it your all, and you can sit back now and go find the job and just, okay, you know what? I'm going to work, but I know that I gave it my all, or I gave it my best, and it just wasn't for me.
Right.
That's just the way I see it, and like you said, if you don't have the calling, then by all means, because I know plenty of people that are on the partner path that wanted to go work at a firm, work, get up to partner, and they're willing to kind of, put in the time to get up there. And I think that's great. I think that's awesome. And I respect that. And I think, what, that's what you want to do. You set a goal, you're achieving it. I've got a couple of friends now, senior managers, are kind of on the partner path here within the next couple of years. And that's great. That's what you wanted. You accomplished your goal. And I think that's fantastic. I've mentioned, hey, do you guys ever think about going on your own? They're like, no, it's too much stress, too much everything. Mm-hmm. Hey, you do you, I'm going to do me. And as long as you're happy, that's all that matters. Exactly.
Happiness is everything. I mean, the goal of life should be to be happy. So if you're waking up every morning and you're miserable, then you should shift. But if you're happy and, 85% of the time you're waking up with some pep in your step, then there's no reason to fix what's not broken. But being self-aware of being unhappy is even just the first step to it.
Yeah, no, I agree 100%. I think that's great. So, all right, we're coming up to the end of it, Katie. I just want to say thank you for coming on. Guys, any of y'all that want to move up to the 21st century, look her up. We'll post a link to her website on our blog page. And again, Katie, thank you so much for coming on, and we appreciate all the insights. And guys, I hope y'all have a wonderful day.
Thank you, Jose. Thanks, everyone.
All righty.